let's talk about a name that has popped up for the Pittsburgh Steelers that, I mean, at this point, if they're looking for a new offensive tackle, if they're looking for somebody to come in here and be a guy to replace Dan Moore and maybe bridge the gap to whoever and however they're looking at it, what about Donovan Smith? 30 years old, will be 31 by the start of the season. PFF says a deal for him right now would be 1 year, $25 million. Former Kansas City Chief and Tampa Bay Buccaneer tackle. I mean, he's got some Super Bowls under his belt. He's been an impact player before, longtime starter in the NFL. You're looking at this guy as, I mean, started 12 games last season, 13 the year before. He's never had a season where he hasn't started. Do you look at Donovan Smith as a real option for the Pittsburgh Steelers and one that they should approach at 30 years old, 31 years old?
I'm sorry, did you say 1 year, $25 million was what?
No, 1 year, 2.5.
Okay. I was going to say, no.
Yeah, no.
Sounds good, but if someone else wants to pay that, that's fine. 2.5 seems a little higher than what I would feel really comfortable giving him. I guess it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's a difference like, I don't know, you'd rather it be like, 2 or 1.75 or something like that. But yeah, for a low cost, a guy who has tons of starting experience, I think, I don't know, he does kind of get penalized quite a bit, like a little more than you might like.
Yeah,
it's not like horrendous. He's not like the worst, he's not like Jawan Taylor, like but like this is, there might also just be apparently something in the water in Kansas City, because their two starting tackles were like among the two of the most penalized players in all of, or offensive linemen in all of football. So I think that's a little concerning, but I think also there's some logic to saying, okay, well, if we get him out of Kansas City, maybe there was just something about the way he was being coached and way that offense was being run. Maybe we can fix that here. So, I don't hate it, especially at that price. Like, that's super affordable for a guy who's been a pretty consistent starter for his entire career and been a starter on winning teams too. Like, that's the other thing. It's like, it's not like he's the last starting tackle in the league, starting for the Carolina Panthers or something like that. He's won, he's been successful. He's been a part of winning teams. And I think that has some value as well. I don't hate it. I still I guess this should still just only be kind of a stopgap before you get whoever you draft kind of up to speed. Like, I still think, pick up Donovan Smith if you want, but he is not the future of your tackle spot. Of your right tackle spot.
I think you could bring him in here for a 1 year deal maybe and just say, hey, look, you're better than Dan Moore. You got more experience. This is cool. And I think the Steelers at some point during this offseason might hit that. Like, they might hit the point where they're like, okay, look, we're ready to win. This team is pretty much put together. We have a weak link at left tackle, or I guess right tackle if Broderick Jones is going to move back to the left side. We got to fill it. And if that's how they're looking at it, then Donovan Smith is a good option. He's a guy who's won Super Bowls, who's been a longtime starter, who's a reliable starter. This is a guy that's going to come in here and give you quality reps and be a guy who's a proven commodity in the NFL. If the Steelers hit that point, and again, I think they will. I think that they are going to try to fill their needs in the draft first, but I think at some point they will hit the wall where it goes, okay, look it, these are our remaining needs. We have to fill them. We cannot waste a year saying, but we just have Dan Moore at right tackle. But we don't have a slot corner. You have to be able to fill them. And I think they're going to hit that point. They're hunting for a Super Bowl. This is a Super Bowl team this year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's what they're looking for, and they're not going to take any risks. But I think right now they want to fill it in the draft, and they'd say, cool. I don't believe that Dan Moore is like your starter for the Steelers this season unless he absolutely has to be. And I don't think that they're going to hit a point where he absolutely has to be unless everything kind of goes like Donovan Smith's not signing before the NFL draft. There's no chance. Like, this guy's showing up in training camp, ready to go. Team. I could see the Steelers with how aggressive Omar Khan is. I could see the Steelers going through round 1, not getting a tackle, going through round 2, not getting a tackle. And before the end of day 2 of the NFL draft, they've signed Donovan Smith. Boom. I could see that being a thing. But before the draft, I don't think it's there. I think it's a point where they go, okay, we didn't get our guy. Now let's do this. That's how I see that move happening. Here's what I want to talk about next. Size matters. We all know it, and it's important to remember it in times of need. I recently went to a small law firm in hopes of getting the compensation I felt I deserved. I didn't, and to this day, I still think about the money that I may have missed out on. I filled out mounds of paperwork, then waited around for what felt like forever, got phone call after phone call telling me what I did not do right in the process, and it was expensive, all to get underwhelming compensation and almost zero satisfaction. Fortunately, if you ever get seriously injured and want to file a claim, you don't have to go through the same hassle I did. Instead, you can make it way easier by finding out if you have a claim in just a few clicks on your phone and working with America's biggest injury law firm with the promise of being for the people. Here comes Morgan & Morgan, today's sponsor. Morgan & Morgan has over 1,000 attorneys working in all 50 states fighting to get their clients the money they deserve. In recent months, they've achieved verdicts for their clients, including one that is worth $26 million. That is 40 times the highest insurance offer. And they're absolutely free unless you win. I got lowballed. Don't make the same mistake I did. Fighting big companies takes a big firm. And with America's biggest injury law firm, you're ready to take on insurance companies of any size. Don't overthink it. You can start your claim in just a few clicks by following the link in our description or by going to www.forthepeople.com/allsteelers. It only takes a few minutes to find out if you have a case. And if you have, it might be worth millions.
Yeah, I mean, that'd make a lot of sense, and I think it would free them up to make some other moves as well, like just to like it gives you a little bit more breathing room in the draft. You don't have to stress over like, well, I mean, we could get a tackle on day 3, or we might not have to go round 1, or do we have to go round 1? And then our round 1 guy is, sitting on the bench for the first 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, like who knows, first year maybe. And we're waiting to get him involved. Like it just opens up their draft strategy, takes one need, not completely off the board, but there's not a desperation to get in a Mims or a Fatanu or something like that. So I really like it in that sense. It's man, it's just like I don't know if I necessarily like when you say Dan Moore is their starting tackle, isn't their starting tackle unless he has to be. Like, does that include like if they take him? Like, do you think Mims or Fatanu, or even if they get him Fuaga, like would be ready day 1, or are they sticking with Dan Moore to like in week 1 to say like we got to give this rookie a chance to catch up to things?
No, I think if they draft somebody in round 1, that's their day 1 starter. Just because I think that Broderick's going to go back to the left side and Dan can't play right side. Like he's got no ability to play right. I mean, you watched him last year. He's not good playing the right side. So I think that they take the hiccups of a rookie over the struggles of Dan Moore playing the right side. And I don't think it's a perfect solution, but I also think that rookies come in here a lot more ready to play on the offensive line than a lot of other positions. And I think that they could, like Fatanu's a guy that I don't know if he's like going to make a huge impact in the NFL. Fuaga is a dude that like he's ready right off the bat, and Mims has injury issues, so you're worried there. But I think all three of them are a guy that, you're going to look at and say, all right, look, you're our right tackle this season. You'll probably compete with Dan Moore, but I don't think Dan's going to win that job. But I do view that as like if they draft somebody round 1, that's their day 1 starter.
A lot of faith. I mean, like Broderick wasn't a day 1 starter.
I agree.
He was different. He was different though. I think everyone knew he was kind of a project.
Yes.
But like he didn't like how long was he a project for? Like when was Broderick's first start this year? It wasn't until
week 11,
after the
week 12.
Week. Yeah, it was real late. It's just like how I don't know. I get it. Broderick was
in Broderick's case though, I think what allowed the Steelers to kind of wait is the fact that Dan was the left and Chooks was the right, and they were comfortable with that. I think this year it's different just because they don't want Broderick to be a right tackle. You know, they want him to be a left tackle. So I think they'll allow Dan to get an opportunity at the right side. I think they'll it'll be pole position to start at right tackle, but I don't think he's going to win that job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That makes sense. Because like you're prognosticating out a little bit. Like Dan will have his chance to compete, but if we've seen Dan play right tackle before, can't really expect on a massive leap forward this year.
No, exactly. And I think they'll give him an opportunity, but I just don't think I don't think they're going to draft somebody and then Dan's going to be gone the next hour. It's all right, well, we got him. Sounds good. See you later, Dan. Have a good one. Appreciate you. Again, we'll see. In the meantime, Donovan Smith, I think, is an option, but I think it's after the NFL draft, and if the Steelers are really looking to kind of add some quality talent and Dan's just not in a place where they believe he could be.